This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Infinity Isle for Game 1 of the Ban Mode Finals. That's right, there was a Ban Mode tournament, and this is the finals. We have an AVS, and we'll get into the bans in just a moment. Spawning as the red Soviets on the right side, this is SovietBall. And on the left side, playing the orange allies, this is opShijiao. One player we have seen before, and one player is a little bit new to me, at least. And let's quickly mention the bans. Multi-gunner turret, Javs, and Vindicators are banned from the Allied side. So cryocopters are still available for the Allied player, but of course no Vindicator to go with that. And on the Soviet side, we have Terror Drones, Twin Blades, and MiGs are all banned. So Soviet harassment is a little bit lessened. And of course, they have virtually no aircraft. We might see Kirovs very late in the game, but there are still Apollos on the Allied side of things. There are also still multi-gunner IFVs. Bears go for a big roar. They don't get any of the Peacekeepers there. They just get one of the dogs. And the conscripts are going to start slowly working away at that oil derrick. One bear gets jumped on there. opShijiao, a player we have seen a number of times in the past, both perform very well and also fall flat on his face. So which opShijiao will be showing up here today? Is it someone who's going to perform well or someone who is going to fall flat on their face? For now, they're handling this early aggression well enough. They have saved their oil derrick, and that is always nice to preserve the oil derrick. And of course, with no Vindicators, there's no early bombing runs against the Soviet oil derrick, so it's going to be more probably ground forces that are going for that kill. But no Terror Drones, no Twin Blades, no MiGs on the Soviet side, and we'll see exactly how the Allied player decides to deal with that. We have a couple of Dolphins coming out. Meanwhile, on the north side, it is a couple of Riptides out on the water. So while there has been a fight on land, both players have also gone for naval expansions, and they have gotten themselves some naval production as well. Two Stingrays on the far right side, and now the Riptides are moving in. For now, with no Javs, what is the plan here? Okay, we do have a Tier 2 MCV, and this might be a cryocopter on the way. Because with no Javs, you can't do anything against the walls. Okay, he could have cryo shot, actually. There is a possibility that cryo shot is about to fire off, and he'll be able to break down these walls. And then also, yeah, with that Tier 2 Allied MCV, I have to assume this is going to be cryocopters packed along with these Riptides, because two Riptides by themselves don't make a whole lot of sense with no Javs on the table. And of course, with the cryocopter coming in, it's going to be a difficult thing to hold off when you don't have bullfrogs and MiGs ready to go. Of course, the Soviet player can build bullfrogs. Why is he even building an airfield? We'll see exactly what he chooses to get out of that airfield. But for the current moment, these Riptides, they're just having a little bit of fun traveling through the Soviet base. And it looks like the Stingrays were able to lock down that water expansion, going to be denying the Allies that water expansion. Although the Allies are denying the Soviets most of their harvesters, I am really curious about this inclusion of the airfield. Why go for the airfield when you can't build MiGs, when you can't build Twin Blades? A couple of bullfrogs are now out, but there are more cryocopters than there are bullfrogs. SovietBall has gone for bullfrogs so late in the game versus an Allied player. I don't even know how long when he got his first bullfrog, like 4.5, 5 minutes into the game before the first bullfrog made its way out onto the field. Stingray is now going to be chasing this MCV. MCV will go for the crush of one, and the cryocopter is getting the freeze on the other. The GG comes out, and SovietBall misplays game number 1. opShijiao finds himself with a pretty easy win. Not how you want to be starting the series off, but in this case, you do get another chance. And here in our second match, the mind games are beginning. This time, spawning in the north, playing the Red Soviets. This is SovietBall. And playing the Cyan Allies in the south. This is opShijiao. And what just happened with the bans is that in Phase 1, opShijiao spent all 3 of his bans on a flak trooper, a flak cannon, and a MiG. Meanwhile, SovietBall only banned the Peacekeeper, which is why you see Javs and Dogs coming out from our allied player and no Peacekeepers. So our Soviet player knew all 3 bans that he had received. He can't build flaks, he can't build MiGs, and he can't build flak cannons. So he was like, all right, well, if I can't build anti-air, now in phase number 2, I'm just going to ban cryocopters and vindicators. So going into game number 2, our allied player cannot build peacekeepers, cryocopters, or vindicators. And those last 2 bans were a response to the anti-air bans of the allied player. So the Soviet player is like, okay, I can only build bullfrogs? Well, I'm just going to take away all of your air units. What, he's going to go for Apollos and Sentry bombers? No, I don't think that's going to happen. And so as a result, we have SovietBall with an incredible set of bans. Vindicator, Cryocopter, PK, and essentially no bans against himself. He's got Terror Drones, Twin Blades, MiGs, Hammer Tanks, almost everything. Flak Trooper is really the only thing he's missing from the early game. And that's okay. He just took out a couple of Javelin Troopers. He's been dominating this early start to the game. He's got Terror Drones already here. The ban mode decisions are so important. And yet, we have a situation where one player played them all early and I think is just going to get overrun by their own early decisions. This is at the very least not an ideal start for the allied player. They do have their naval yard being camped or their water expansion location being camped by a bear. Meanwhile, the Soviet player is going for that faster expansion. Oil derrick is also going to be getting knocked down. Again, without peacekeepers, not a lot that they can go. Without being able to go for early vindicators, not a lot that the allied player can do. This changes how they play so much. Yep, we've got Guardian tanks now out. We've got Riptides. Now that we're 3.5 minutes in, the allied player can start to stabilize, and we'll see what the Soviet player is able to do with this lead. But this is a fantastic starting place for the Soviet player. And of course, with Terror Drones, hey, no Vindicators to jump on them from the sky, and this can just become delay central for the allied player. The Soviet player has so many opportunities to delay the allied player from getting across the map, and once again, the Soviet player got to make those bans late in the process because this allied player spent all of their bans in the first round. Riptide's going to be trying to chase down these sickles. At least one sickle should go down, maybe 2 or 3. We'll see if this Guardian tank is able to close the distance. One more shot, and the sickle jump to escape. Hammer tank is here to guard those sickles, and of course the Crusher Crane may be added on to provide some kind of healing, but no, the MCV is moving out to the water. It is going to be a 3 refinery plus an oil derrick Soviet player versus a 2 refinery allied player for now. And then it looks like by the time the allied player gets his 3rd refinery up and running, well, our Soviet player might just have a 4th refinery up on the water. Crusher Crane over here on the high ground. But again, just because the Soviet player has a good start doesn't mean they'll have a good finish to the game. Now with the 3rd refinery up, the allied player can hopefully stabilize. We'll see how this Hammer Tank Terror Drone combo goes. Again, no cryocopters, no vindicators makes this so much harder for the allied player to deal with. And most allied players are just not familiar with playing no air. Do they have options? Absolutely. Javelins, I mean, no Peacekeepers is also kind of annoying, but Javelins, Guardian Tanks, Riptides, IFVs, Multi-Gunner Turrets, these are all still powerful options for the Allied player. But if you're not used to playing this kind of a style, then you may find yourself out of sorts. You may find yourself tilted a little bit, and that just makes everything slower. And honestly, I don't know why our Soviet player is not going fast into Twin Blades. I feel like Twin Blades in combination with this, 1 or 2 Twin Blades, even poking and prodding, killing harvesters, killing power plants, that sort of thing. Not even a huge commitment to Twin Blades could be absolutely devastating to this Allied player. For now, it's just a little bit of saber rattling, it's a little bit of trading positions, and also maybe a couple more terror drones wouldn't go amiss in this Soviet arsenal. 4th refinery is up and running for our Soviet player. 5th refinery is on the way also. Hammer tank does get jumped on. Riptide will be getting frozen in place. The 2nd hammer tank is about to go down. That laser painter is such a powerful upgrade for the Allied player. And opShijiao now moving up onto the high ground. The MCV is also here to tank some shots. SovietBall has been going big into eco. And as that 5th refinery finishes up, there is a real opportunity for him to be doubling the income of his opponent with that oil derrick. And there's going to be the cryo shot, catches 2 tanks, and the Riptide is going for the harass out there on the water. These tank fights have not been well handled by SovietBall. He has been losing tanks left and right. Well, the Riptide commits into the attack at the naval expansion and gets caught by a sentry gun. Still, no Twin Blades here from our Soviet player. Instead, it's going to be a base push. He is double pumping super reactors to try and act as a buffer, a wall for that Tesla coil. Riptide going to be getting locked down. Finally will go down, and the leech beam of these hammer tanks allowing them to kill units from a great distance. The Tesla coil has finally finished up and is now ready to start attacking the Allied player. There goes the harvester in one shot. Athena cannons are here. They might be a little bit too late to the party. The harvester has already been eliminated, and that refinery is now gone. So that Tesla coil also didn't have a lot of purchase. And hey, we have our first Peacekeeper 8 minutes into the match. Our first Peacekeeper is out on the field from that sold off refinery, and he will at least clear out this building, deny that vision from the Soviet player. What's better than 5 refineries and an oil derrick? Well, it just might be 6 refineries and an oil derrick from this Soviet player. A slower match. I feel like opShijiao has done an incredible job considering the hand that he was dealt, but it does feel like he is not super comfortable playing this ground-only style. And again, you could try and go for sentry bombers. Apollos are still good if your opponent goes air, but in this case, SovietBall has been completely ignoring aircraft, so why go air if your opponent isn't? And terror drones, one does get sniped by the Athena cannons. A couple of Tesla troopers here, kind of a curious choice. The Athena cannons do make Tesla troopers difficult to use. Cryo shot will be firing off. Hammer tank's going to be committing in, but with no way to counter the artillery of the Allied player. I say no way. Obviously, he can build Twin Blades. He can build V4s. He can do things to counter the Allied player. He just simply isn't doing any of those things. Hammer tank's going to be moving forward, and it looks like the Guardian tanks have been overwhelmed, and with no meat shield, the Athena cannons won't last very long versus the straight-up guns of these hammer tanks. More reinforcements coming in. Mirage coming out to try and deal with these hammers. One more hammer goes down, and another gets eliminated. The Aegis shield not quite able to keep that guy from taking damage. But the terror drones get the lockdown on the Athena. The hammer tank finally gets the kill, and once again, the Allied player has at least held the line. The Athena cannon gets the lock on those terror drones, and one goes down, and the second manages to escape, and these Mirage tanks clear out those Tesla troopers. One Twin Blade would have changed that game, but the 7th refinery is now up for the Soviet player. 9K per minute nearly versus the 3.9K of the Allied player. Fresh 3rd refinery is up and running for opShijiao. And it feels like opShijiao is playing better than SovietBall, but because of the tech choices that have been made, and SovietBall is just playing the macro game, so SovietBall has the advantage as long as he can keep his opponent corralled up in his base. There are 10 refineries, or 10 ore nodes on this map. 7 are under the control of the Soviet player, who also has $3 grand in the bank, just floating 3K. Meanwhile, the Allied player is trying to make some kind of progress. Killing the neutral structures in the middle is not the end of the world. One Terror Drone rushes in, and one Terror Drone goes down. Cryoblast is going to be firing off, forcing these hammer tanks forward, and the Tesla Troopers aren't doing very much when they get one shot by the Mirages. Finally, a couple of Mirages going down, and one more Mirage will be eliminated. opShijiao just buying time for his Athena cannon to blast down the Soviet army. And where is anything else from the Soviet player? I do not understand this commitment to hammer tanks and Tesla Troopers. Virtually nothing else. Even if there was 4 terror drones, just to be able to lock down more of these tanks and stop them from closing the distance, stop the Athena cannons from being as effective, that would be a better option. But instead, it's just Mirage tanks getting up close and personal with the Soviet army time and time again. And is SovietBall really going to throw this game from a 7 refinery, 11K per minute position? Hammer tanks once again trying to close the distance with these Mirages. And guess what? 4 Mirages versus 1 hammer tank is not a difficult equation to crunch. We can only hope that on the other side of the map that there are, I don't know, dreadnoughts or something coming out from the Soviet player at that naval expansion. This Athena cannon has gone heroic. The Mirage tanks, 1 is heroic, 2 are double vet. On the verge of going heroic, and the War Factory now being targeted down. opShijiao being incredibly effective and efficient with his small number of units. 5 hammer tanks. The rebuild has happened, and the dreadnoughts, no, it's Kirov's. Kirov's coming in from the water, and of course, the Allied player has virtually no defense, so it will be a Kirov basically clearing out that base, and hey, we did it! 13 minutes into the game, 1 single twin blade to save the day. That's what you need. And look at this, the Mirage tanks, they're going to try and chase down as many units as they can, blast as many buildings as they can, but it's a timer that they're running against. The clock is ticking, and the twin blades won't stop shooting, so get as much done as you can, because now that the air units have arrived, it's sort of game over for the Allied player. The switch up from this point would be pretty massive for opShijiao to try and execute. The GG comes out, and opShijiao has been defeated. The writing was on the wall. It just took a couple of extra minutes for it to arrive, and that will be SovietBall tying up the series 1-1. Perfect bans there from SovietBall. Perfect response to the bans. It took a little while for it to manifest in the game, but he had the perfect game plan going into this match. And that sends us to Snowplow for the tiebreaker in this series. SovietBall cannot build bears, hammer tanks, or terror drones. Meanwhile, on the opShijiao side of the map, he cannot build peacekeepers, multi-gunner turrets, or vindicators. Feeling very similar to game number 1. Very similar choices. Maybe a little bit different, but we have, once again, cryocopters back on the menu. So, without Vindicators, Riptides are still a viable option for the Allied player, and a rush to Vindicators makes it a lot or a rush to Cryocopters makes the early game a lot easier. However, no Peacekeepers and no Vindicators, no multi-gunner turrets means that the center of the map MCV position to turret push your opponent won't really work. There will have to be a different strategy, but it is going to be a cryo rush regardless. Nope, where are the dogs? Bears were banned, but dogs weren't, so I'm not sure why opShijiao is completely ignoring dogs. Once this cryocopter is out, he should be able to break this down very easily. He might need another barracks since he doesn't have multi-gunner turrets, but this one peacekeeper is gonna rank up on these conscripts and just get a bunch of kills for free. All right, only 3 of them before the rest managed to escape. But 2 cryocopters are now out, and this is an allied player who is delaying his second refinery. He doesn't even have his core economy online. He is just going to be waiting for that second refinery a little bit later. But these 2 cryocopters were too powerful not to get out. Meanwhile, the Soviet player was going for a pretty greedy option, going for 3 refineries before 3 minutes. Now, we did see that actually cancel, and we do have bullfrogs out on the map. And of course, we also do have MiGs, flak troopers, and flak cannons also being available for our Soviet player. So he has to deal with cryocopters, but he has the full range of Soviet units to do it with. No hammer tanks, no terror drones does mean the ground army is going to be a lot weaker. Well, one flak gets 1 kill. 1 cryocopter goes down here. The other cryocopters still a danger to the Soviet arsenal, but 4 bullfrogs are going to be able to chase away those cryocopters. And game number 1 looking a bit shaky for SovietBall, but game number 2, he is responding to these bans much more confidently. No riptides for the allied players seems to be a problem. I would have liked to see something else on the ground, but, you know, no peacekeepers for that early game does make it more difficult. No multi-gunner turrets does make these defense situations a lot harder as well. Again, for how an allied player is typically used to playing out these matches, you have to pivot quite a bit. And the Soviet player does as well. No terror drones, no hammer tanks, but it did feel like opShijiao was having a tougher time of it for a minute there. The combination of cryocopter plus shrink plus this harvester was apparently the perfect defense, and that just shows you the danger of not banning cryocopters, or the danger of going after multiple cryocopters when you don't have either flak troopers or MiGs to help make those bullfrogs a little bit stronger. When you've got the bullfrogs and you've got the space, that's one thing, but when the bullfrogs are that close to the cryocopters getting free repairs and there's multiple cryocopters, as we saw, it wasn't a good move for the Soviet player. This peacekeeper continuing to get more and more conscript kills. Very few peacekeepers will be in this game. Bullfrogs show up, but again, they just get shrunk down. And with 3 cryocopters being out on the field, it's not that hard to rotate them back. 4 cryocopters. With there being 4 cryocopters on the field, it's not that hard to rotate them back and keep them healthy. Yep. Goes golden, that peacekeeper now with a lovely star next to his name, and the MiGs, well, they need some help versus that Apollo. opShijiao is ready at what seems like the perfect time with all of these moves. As soon as the MiG shows up, the Apollo shows up as well. If the MiG had been there a little bit earlier, these cryocopters wouldn't, well, there wouldn't be 5 of them out on the field. But now the Soviet player needs to deal with this Allied Air Force one way or another. Twin Blade is finally here, but the Apollo is trying to take it down. Fortunately, the Bullfrogs managed to silence the Apollo, and opShijiao nearly breaking through the defenses of SovietBall, but it just barely, he manages to hold it together. 1 cryocopter will be able to escape. opShijiao losing quite a bit there, but those 5 cryocopters, well, 4 out of the 5 going down is a huge problem for the Allied player. Okay, it's going to be a GG for the Allied player. I thought he was going to try and rebuild after that. As it turns out, the rush for cryocopters, when you lose 80% of your cryocopter force over the course of 30 seconds, it really doesn't leave you with a whole lot remaining. And that will do it for game number 3. SovietBall with a messy game, but with a win nonetheless. Welcome to Cabana Republic for game number 4. And spawning on the left side as the yellow Empire, this is opShijiao. Meanwhile, on the right side, playing the red Soviets, this is SovietBall. Going Crane first. What a move. Now, of course, we do have some bans to go over. The Empire player, I almost called him the Allied player, but opShijiao cannot build Imperial Warriors, Tsunamis, or Chopper VXs, which means he should be able to get Striker VXs, and he just can't transform them. So he still has the anti-air option, but no Tsunami tanks. So it's going to be Tengus all day, sort of forced into it by the Soviet player who cannot build Bullfrogs or MiGs or Terror Drones. So Chopper VXs, that makes sense as a ban. You see that you have Bullfrogs and MiGs banned, and you're like, well, I need to ban some of my opponent's air units. And of course, Tengus, they can still kill Twin Blades in the sky. And of course, Chopper VXs can kill Twin Blades from the ground. This may be an option of, this is why there was a Crane first. Okay, so this is not going to be a normal game. It looks like SovietBall, after seeing the series of bans, he kind of figured, well, no Tsunami tanks, no Chopper VXs. I just have to worry about Strikers, which are really bad at killing Tesla coils. I almost called them Tesla tanks, which is, I don't know where that's coming from. Either Red Alert 2 or the campaign. And yeah, Tesla coils can be very difficult to deal with if you don't have Chopper VXs. Tengus don't do very well versus Tesla coils. They do kill them eventually, and with that honorable discharge, you can find yourself able to overwhelm Tesla coils. But we'll see how the Soviet player is able to execute this build. Taking a bunch of damage on your MCV right from the beginning, not necessarily great. Where's the body blocks? We should have some, I don't know, barracks or anything really, even reactors coming in to body block some of these things. Bear on top of the tank busters will be stopping them from being as effective, and this buys more and more time for this Tesla coil to come up. So as long as the Tesla coil finishes, the Soviet player has a really strong position to go back to. Low power mode for opShijiao. This is not going well. Forced to sell off the barracks and is actually just going to exit the base. So that's a goodbye to the refinery. The ore collector will go down as well. And this Tesla coil is paying for itself. And opShijiao is just going to get out of the city and hope for the best somewhere else. We do see the expansion onto the high ground. opShijiao has already gone for that traditional third refinery location up there. But this Tesla coil, it doesn't have a lot more that it can shoot in this base. So it's going to be, I guess, up to SovietBall to just take over that location. And this might work out. No Tsunamis, no Choppers. I mean, even no Imperial Warriors, even if you're not building a ton of Imperial Warriors, they help you control that early game. They help you deal with the bears so your tank busters can be more effective. And then when you don't have those Imperial Warriors, suddenly your tank busters have no early defense. This might be the perfect situation here for the Soviet player. Those tank busters don't have the early defense. We never saw them Mecha Bay, and, well, there will be one Imperial Warrior. The engineer does not get the kill. Yeah, those tank busters not having that early defense. No Mecha Bay for no Tengus. And what in the world? Instantly to a tier 2 dojo. Not what I was expecting to see as a response to this. And SovietBall is just continuing the aggression with the MCV. He is ramming down. I guess he's using his MCV as a battering ram to break down these walls and try and stop this now tier 3 dojo from being produced. What is the plan for the tier 3 dojo? I do not know. It could be Yuriko. It could be Rocket Angels, I guess, because that's something that the Soviet player certainly is not going to have in mind. And well, this MCV is trying to... Okay, finally does get it set up. And now the Tesla coil... Yep. Okay, I think he was expecting it to be Rocket Angels, but no, it's just Yuriko. Get the bear! Bear goes down, and opShijiao finding a use for a Eureka Rush? This isn't even a Eureka Rush. A 6-minute Eureka on the high ground at the natural expansion. And this is something that the Soviet player was not expecting and was not ready for. There is still a war factory on the other side of the map. There is, of course, still a crusher crane as well. So flak cannon's going to be coming up. Barracks as well. But Eureka is out here, and there are no Soviet support powers while the MCV has been destroyed. So this is a big opportunity for opShijiao to restabilize, although he already does have 2 refineries. So his economy isn't great, but at least he's got something going on. And of course, the combination of Rocket Angel plus Eureka is a very powerful threat that the Soviet player has to respond to. I did not even notice this nanotech mainframe sneakily placed out there on the left side of the map. opShijiao just pivoting and pivoting and pivoting. Okay, Twin Blades are the play for SovietBall. They can kill Eureka very quickly. Unfortunately for the Twin Blades, Eureka is hiding in a building somewhere, and they don't know exactly where she is. So the Twin Blades should be sort of the perfect play here in the short term. In the long term, I think SovietBall is going to need a different plan. He's going to need a different play to bring for this game. Flak Troopers will eventually be able to deal with these Rocket Angels. First one does go down. I thought the Rocket Angel was actually going to get out of range of the Flak Troopers before they got the kill, but nope. Flak Troopers do get the kill, and the Twin Blades are just leaving the Flak Troopers behind. The Twin Blades are not interested in waiting around for those Flaks to catch up. I do like the couple of bears that are also playing guard dog for these Flak Troopers. Just want to make sure that they don't get surprised by anything. We've seen a couple of Imperial Warriors come out from sold off buildings, so that is something that you have to be wary of. I mean, even the Harvester could get a couple of kills there. And Eureka is inside of this building here. The bear does scout that and reveal it, so these Twin Blades may be able to jump on Eureka and go for a kill there. Rocket Angel won't be able to stop the capture of that oil derrick. May be able to go for the kill, but the Flak Troopers has finally made their way around, and when you don't have MiGs and you don't have bullfrogs, you just have these very slow anti-air units. All right, Twin Blades and Flak Troopers, they have bought the time necessary for SovietBall to get himself back into this game, but Tengus are now out, which is going to be a problem if you are not fast, and he was not fast enough. One Twin Blade goes down, a second gets eliminated, a third gets eliminated, and fourth gets its wings clipped before the Flak Troopers show up. Number 5 in danger as well. Well, the Flak Troopers did their job. It was a costly attack for this 1 health bar, but ultimately that was just Twin Blades going down for no real response. As soon as that Tengu gets back to the War Factory to get some repairs, he'll be back up to full health in no time. Flak Troopers not able to get a kill just yet. This is a lot of Flak Troopers going down. Not a lot of Twin Blades in the sky to actually get the kill on the Tengus. This was almost a perfect game for these Tengus, but one finally does go down. So many Tengus so very low on health. They really need to be sent back to get some repairs. Okay. The Tengus have finally backed up. Has there been an MCV rebuild? I'm kind of worried that there hasn't been. I feel like this is a mistake for SovietBall to just stay on this level of tech. Fortunately for him, opShijiao hasn't gone crazy with taking over the whole map worth of expansions. And okay, stealing a power plant, kind of annoying. You know, never a bad thing to deny your opponent another power plant, force them to just spend cash rebuilding it, and you get the $400 cash back for yourself, which almost pays for the engineer. Close enough. Oil derrick goes down. Second oil derrick will be targeted as well. A very low eco game for both players. They have not much economy for this entire match. 2 refineries, 2 oil derricks for the Soviet player, and 2 refineries for the Empire player. But of course, with the oil derricks going down, they are now on much more equal ground. And I guess I guess inside of the base is pretty safe. Inside of the base is pretty safe with the flak cannon, with all of the flak troopers, but we'll see. Now, tsunami tanks and chopper VXs being banned mean that this hammer tank has a lot of potential power. We'll see versus the Yuriko. This is going to be a very weird dance. The twin blades can kill Yuriko very quickly, but of course, Tengus slaughter the twin blades. Flak troopers can kill the Tengus. And then the hammer tank, well, there's only one of them, so he's not going to be doing very much if he gets anywhere close to this Yuriko, and that's not going to be fast enough. Goodbye to the hammer tank. Flies up in the sky, and the bears are going to be getting targeted down one by one. There's the Yuriko's overcharge, and she kills all of the bears. Gets out of the building to stop the flak cannons from attacking, flak troopers rather, from attacking in the jungle. Comes in, one bear down, a second bear, but he doesn't get the kill. The twin blades have to get the kill on Yuriko, and now it's up to the flak troopers to barrel down these Tengus, but it just won't be enough. The twin blades did nothing to help them out, and now there's the transform. The Tengus will escape back to their base, and that was so much cash in flak troopers. The tier 3 barracks is still here, so the Yuriko rebuild can happen quite quickly if opShijiao wants. Third refinery is up and running for opShijiao. He has sort of realized that there is a bit of a blind spot in the north there for the Soviet player. Not a lot of units are going out over the water. When you've only got flak troopers to defend your twin blades, you don't really want to take the chance on them going over the water where the rocket angels and the Tengus reign supreme. Twin blades crossing the map, hammer tanks as well. SovietBall has found a little bit of space, but is it going to be enough? Tengus are here in enormous numbers. Rocket Angel going to be getting some free shots against this hammer tank. I would love to see a couple more Rocket Angels, even if it's just for the paralysis whip. It is very useful in both run by harassment. Well, not the paralysis whip. Rocket Angels can be very good in run by harassment, and well, GG, SovietBall will tap out of that game. opShijiao doesn't even have to fight the final battle because SovietBall just gives up a awkward game for sure. But with those bans coming in and then SovietBall just deciding to YOLO it and go for the turret push, the Tesla coil push, it threw that game into a weird state that it never really got out of, but an incredibly entertaining game. A unusual Soviet versus Empire on Cabana Republic for sure, and that ties up the score as well, 2-2. Welcome to Industrial Strength for another Empire versus Soviet match. opShijiao in the north has been able to even up the score. After that first win in game number 1, 2 losses in a row were making things look dire. But SovietBall dropped the ball in game number 4 and let things even up. You may be seeing that Crusher Crane first and thinking, it's another Tesla coil push. But guess what, sucker? Tesla coils have been banned. So I'm not sure what this is going to turn into. On the Soviet side, Bullfrogs, MiGs, and Tesla coils are banned. On the Empire side, no early game infantry, Imperial Warriors, Tank Busters banned, and then Chopper VX is also banned. So Tsunami Tank is on the map, but with no Tesla coils, the Chopper VX ban isn't the biggest problem. I mean, it is nice to have Chopper VXs, but it's not the biggest problem. Hammer tanks and Tsunami tanks, both players are going to be pretty happy with those trades. Hammer tanks have some advantages versus Tsunamis. Tsunamis have advantages if they can actually close the distance. And is this just a sentry gun push? I mean, I guess it's like a Tesla coil push, but cheaper is one way to put it. The walls coming in to try and block off that barracks, but for now, the power plant is still can still be targeted. And again, this is where ban mode makes this game so much. Is he cutting off his own What is going on? Is this, is he gonna try and... He's gonna go for the harvester kill, but... Oh, okay, that harvester took way more damage. Whoa! I thought those walls were going to finish long before the harvester went down, but no, that harvester just got smoked by that sentry gun. And I guess as long as the refinery survives, then the harvester can eventually be rebuilt. But this flak trooper really needs to be dealt with. The MCV packing up for now. Couple of Imperial warriors coming out from sold off buildings to help deal with those bears, and another harvester goes down. So opShijiao losing a decent amount of cash on these harvesters, and the sentry gun will eventually kill the Imperial warrior, but not before the flak cannon goes down, and now the wall can be sold off, and I guess the Empire walls can replace those walls now. Tangos are also here. And the MCV from the Soviet player has just repositioned into the other gap of the base. Tsunami tanks are now out, and what is the response from the Soviet player to tsunami tanks? This is where things get, I think, a lot harder for the Soviet player to keep going. The tsunami tanks make this much more challenging, but of course the Chopper VXs would be potentially the ultimate answer to this play from the Soviet player, and he's just going to be forced to sell off his war factory. He has to sell off a tier 2 Empire war factory and just run from this MCV to tsunami tanks when your opponent has the garage. Actually have a really tough time killing that MCV, and the garage, that is the critical piece of this that I missed from the earlier parts of this game. The Soviet player having the garage make this MCV that much stronger versus anything on the ground. No war factory means no production for the Empire player, but of course if this MCV cannot... He heals up so fast. The MCV heals up so fast. But if he doesn't have the MCV unpacked, he, of course, can't actually build anything. So the Tengus are on the other side of the map going for the harass. It is going to be a sentry gun to try and bring the defense back to the Soviet side of the map. And these Tengus are just going to transform and run away. Oil Derrick getting targeted down. MCV still trying to run around on the Empire side of the map. And as long as this Mecha Bay doesn't get established, well, the Soviet player is safe for the moment. Just going to keep chasing these tsunami tanks. 2 tsunami tanks. Not enough DPS to out heal the garage. Engineer is on the way. That dojo from earlier paying huge dividends for the Empire player. The fact that he had a dojo out and running around makes this now a much easier proposition for the Empire player. Wow, this MCV does not last long once it doesn't have the repairs. Almost tricks the Empire player, almost tricks opShijiao into running those tsunami tanks into the MCV, and now this is feeling... I guess the Soviet player still has a chance, but this is feeling pretty over for the Soviet player. The sentry gun's still active there next to the old refinery location, and one tsunami tank goes down. This takes a lot of health away from that MCV, and is it just going to be the sell-off? He adds the cash back to his own MCV. He wants the build radius. I guess if he loses the MCV... Is this a trick play? Is he going for the crush of that tsunami tank anyways? I guess I don't know. Refinery coming out. Tsunami tank going to be targeting down that MCV. An absolute goofball mode here on game number 5 of this ban mode series. More walls coming in. You just keep walling until the end of time. Toxin drop on top of this refinery, and of course we just saw a third refinery get deployed by the Soviet player, or by the Empire player, but there is already a Soviet barracks here as well. Where's the Mecha Bay? Has the Mecha Bay been rebuilt? I think the answer is no. The Empire player has been doing all of this just on one refinery worth of economy, and actually, is it worth it leaving the harvester there? Obviously the toxins do damage, but the repair is very good. No more harassment on the Soviet side of the map. Those Tengus, I think, got eliminated earlier on. They must have gone down to something somewhere. And, well, there goes the barracks. Imperial Warrior not able to bonsai charge those conscripts, so we'll just have to wait somewhere else. This game turning absolutely goofy in this series. Flak Trooper is out to help break down those walls, and the point defense drone is going to help this harvester last a little bit longer, but this Tesla Trooper is just here to go for the kill. Oh, gonna use the Tesla Trooper's stasis to try and shut down this harvester. Well, the harvester goes down, the refinery goes down as well, and this tsunami tank is gonna now try and break down the barracks. More and more walls coming in here. The fact that opShijiao has not been able to rebuild his MCV is the critical problem for the Empire player. I don't know why that Mecha Bay took so long to rebuild, but it is finally out on the map now. And, well, this one tsunami tank still has a lot of work cut out for him. A terror drone from across the map as SovietBall gets another barracks in his opponent's base as his first barracks gets sold off there. The proxy barracks gets sold off, and now this terror drone is, I guess, no longer needed, but opShijiao has been defeated. SovietBall makes it happen, and the shutdown of that Mecha Bay was the most important thing. I don't know if that was a misclick sell by opShijiao. He was maybe trying to sell off the refinery or something, but he ends up selling off that Mecha Bay and losing that second. Getting that second tsunami tank crushed might have been the actual moment that opShijiao lost that game. If he had two tsunami tanks that whole time, I don't think the MCV survives. If the MCV doesn't survive, SovietBall probably loses that game. But that might have been the final turning point where SovietBall was able to get the win with the critical crush of that tsunami tank. Fire Island is the location of game number 6. With his back against the wall, opShijiao needs to pull out a win, and SovietBall needs to get one final victory. The crane opener is once again the choice for the Soviet player. The chaos worked out in that last game, but switching it up to allies, opShijiao believes that is his ticket to victory. After a couple of Empire games, some wins, some losses, opShijiao decides, nope, allies are actually where I need to go. When it's game number 6, when my tournament life is on the line in the finals, I'm going here. Well, let's go over the bans, because as these bears and dogs go crazy on each other, the allied player will be missing javelin troopers, multi-gunner turrets, and vindicators. Meanwhile, the Soviet player will be missing twin blades, MiGs, and terror drones. Crusher Crane is here, but this is a 2-refinery Soviet economy followed by a super reactor. So, we'll just say strong indications of a Tesla coil push. But, you know, maybe he goes super fast airfield and he really wants to build Kirovs. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think he's going to be going for super fast hammer tanks. Yep. It's another Tesla coil push coming out from SovietBall, and opShijiao has spotted this. He's got the intel. He has cryocopters available to him. No vindicators, of course, and no multi-gunner turrets. Javelins also missing from his arsenal, but at least he has the cryocopter, and also, I mean, he can deploy that, yeah, out on the water, and the bear will now spot it. So SovietBall understands what's going on. Actually, he spots the cryocopter because it starts freezing his MCV. But guess what? You can't shrink buildings. If you don't have any units, you can't shrink them. You just have to freeze them. And of course, with flak troopers being an option, with bullfrogs being an option as well, those are the things that SovietBall is going to go for. opShijiao goes for the sell-off of the refinery to get the quick Peacekeeper, and that Peacekeeper goes golden, cleans up almost everything that the Soviet player has, and in a couple of moments, 3 cryocopters will end this entire push and lock down the MCV. The options are limited. The hope is dwindling, and it's all in the hands of this Peacekeeper, which Peacekeepers aren't even banned. He just sold it off because it would be the fastest way to get a Peacekeeper, and now these cryocopters are crossing the map. no bullfrogs, no flak troopers to stop them. Flak cannons are, of course, available on the other side of the map, but when you go for this kind of a rush, you leave yourself vulnerable to so many things, and it turns out cryocopters are one of them. Double barracks will be the response from our Soviet player, and also SovietBall has both of the oil derricks under his control, which is always nice. Get both of those oil derricks in your pocket, but it's still difficult to deal with 3 cryocopters. Having the oil derricks, having double barracks production is nice, but yeah, 3 cryocopters is a very powerful thing indeed. And of course, the option of more cryocopters will still exist in the future. For now, we will be capped at 3 cryocopters just because the MCV moved away from that airfield, so it no longer has the tier 2 tech necessary to keep up that cryocopter production. But killing an MCV this early on is certainly a big advantage for any player. Double barracks did get sold off. War Factory will be the replacement for that second barracks, and it looks like the MCV is nearly out. $5 grand and 1 minute of production time is, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot when you're sitting with very few options. Oh, did he cancel the MCV? Maybe he wasn't even building an MCV, but whatever it was, it looks like he has canceled it. MCV, I have to imagine opShijiao is going to get another airfield out just to be able to... Maybe he doesn't want any more than 3 cryocopters, but I feel like having the option to rebuild cryocopters is going to be very important for this allied player. Cryocopters do get healed up, flies back to the main airfield, and... well, this harvester is taking splash damage from all of these flak troopers. Dogs going to be coming in. A couple of bears getting locked down. The rest of the bears will be eliminated. Yes, the flak troopers are now basically undefended as these dogs go crazy all over this Soviet army. The only thing stopping them is this sickle, which will be able to clean up the last of the dogs. A couple of flak troopers do remain. It's going to be up to the cryocopters to save the day for the allied player. A couple of peacekeepers wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea either, but they're not quite as fast as dogs in crossing the map. But they do live a lot longer versus these sickles. One peacekeeper, with the help of these cryocopters, is going to be able to clean up a huge chunk of these flak troopers. And was that advanced aeronautics? Did advanced aeronautics not actually get purchased until just now? It looked like that might have been what that was, or perhaps high technology that may also affect cryocopters. But there's the sell-off. The reset has happened once again for the allied player, losing this refinery for the second time in this match. Controlling the allied economy can be a good way to slow them down, but normally that is from taking them from 4 refineries down to 3 refineries, or maybe even 3 refineries down to 2. It's not usually killing their second main base refinery, but here in ban mode, these sorts of things happen. Peacekeeper is going to be pushing forward. opShijiao, he has dealt with the early game. He has dealt with the not quite mid-game, because it's just sickles and flak troopers, but he has dealt with the second wave from the Soviet player, and the no MCV rebuild does mean that SovietBall is limited in his options. He wants to keep up the aggression. He's not interested in just sitting back and rebuilding. We'll see if he's able to do more this time. This is a lot of flak troopers, and the sickles are already here. The shrink does mean the peacekeepers will be more effective, but they can still knock down these units. More sickles going to be coming in, and the flak trooper is going to be getting a couple of shots in against these peacekeepers as well, but the peacekeepers just blasting through those flak trooper lines. Oh, the shrink comes in. The peacekeeper riot shield keeps him alive. The hero peacekeeper withstands the attacks of the sickles, and now it is 3 refineries spread out in a little triangle, forming a pocket of economy that the allied player has under his control. I was wrong, apparently, about the need to rebuild cryocopters because opShijiao has not lost a single one. These cryocopters have come so low on health many times in this game, but they have survived and been able to heal up in between the fights. SovietBall has not been able to get the confirmed kills on these units that he has been looking for. And of course, with no bullfrogs here, he can build bullfrogs. He just hasn't had a war factory for very long, so he hasn't built any bullfrogs. Well, I guess he's had a war factory for a while now, but it's only been sickle production because he has been trying to keep up the aggression. And now with the Guardian tank out on the map, suddenly this aggression gets a lot more difficult. It's not just bears, it's not just dogs and peacekeepers that the sickles can deal with very easily. It's going to be a Guardian tank creating a huge area of control for the allied player. 2 Guardian tanks plus cryocopters, a difficult thing for the Soviet player to crack. And of course, with this war factory here on the front line, those repairs are that much closer as well, creating even more problems for the Soviet player. And once again, we don't get the final battle as SovietBall taps out and opShijiao sends us into the ace match of the ban mode finals. And it all comes down to this. One final game, one final chance for each player to get the win that matters most. On the left side, playing as the Red Soviets, this is SovietBall. And on the right side, sticking with allies, believing in the power of aircraft, this is opShijiao. The biggest question that matters most is what units are banned, and the result is nothing. I don't know if this is in the rules of the tournament or if this is just what these players decided, but they said Game 7, everything is on the table. The funny thing is, they still decided to play the ban mode version of the map, so I just watched them for a minute ban nothing, and eventually the timeout ran, and then we were able to get into the game. They should have just played the normal version of the map, but they didn't for some reason. At any rate, we have game number 7 of the ban mode finals, and nothing is banned. Everything is available. Both players will be playing their best, and we'll see what they're able to come up with. Flak Cannon going to be finishing up relatively soon, or maybe it'll just be canceled at the last moment when SovietBall is confident in his anti-air capabilities. Early game Vindicator plays, something we have not seen for the entirety of this series. Even in the games where the Vindicators were not banned, the other things that were banned just made them not much of an option. And in this case, they are going to be hunting in the Soviet base, looking for a target, goes for the reactor, and will manage to escape. No actual kills there for the Bullfrogs. And with the reactor being sold off, it's sort of a good situation for the Soviet player. But of course, it does still send him into low power mode. It forces him to rebuild that reactor, and does buy some more time for the Allied player to get himself this high ground expansion. Multi-gunner turrets, cryocopters, Vindicators, the full power of the Allied arsenal will be present in this game. And SovietBall decides not to go Crusher Crane first and then try and cross the map for a Tesla coil push. Well, maybe he'll cross the map for a Tesla coil push now, but it will be not right away. It won't be the first thing that happens in the game. Terror Drone is out, Bullfrogs as well. Perfect micro there from opShijiao. Turns his Vindicators around and drops the bomb on that Terror Drone. 2 Vindicators go down. Ooh, I thought a third went down, but no, just 2 Vindicators get eliminated and 2 Bullfrogs manage to escape. But of course, 1 Bullfrog extremely low on health, and SovietBall is not interested in a high ground third refinery. SovietBall is interested in some kind of a base push. This is without Crusher Crane. This is without Super Reactor. I have no idea what the plan is here for the Soviet player other than I guess, kill one harvester and kill some aircraft, because before the cryocopter can emerge, the Vindicator gets caught returning to base, and the shrink isn't going to be good enough. This cryocopter needs to get back to repairs. He's right outside of the repair range of this airfield. Second cryocopter comes up moments. Oh, that was so close to disaster for these cryocopters. And actually, the Bullfrog finds the kill anyways. And the cryocopter does go down. The Terror Drone almost getting caught behind that frozen Bullfrog. One Peacekeeper with a heroic badge next to his name manages to push back this attack for now, but he doesn't stop the Conyard. He doesn't stop the flak cannon from finishing up. So this is still a Soviet player sieging an Allied base, but I guess with now no cryocopters to worry about, only one cryocopter and no airfield out on the map, opShijiao is in an extremely awkward spot. Airfield gets rebuilt, this time on the high ground. MCV is here as well, and of course multi-gunner turrets, they are available, but we just haven't seen them out on the field just yet. That might be one queued up right now to help lock down this area, help keep this Allied base safe. I'm not sure what the long-term plan is here for the Soviet player. A couple of Bullfrogs are here, Terror Drone as well, Flak Trooper coming out to try and break down these walls. And maybe he goes for the sentry gun? No, I guess it's just nothing for the Soviet player. He's going Flax, and he is going to try and end the game with the barracks and the sickles. I'm not sure what the hope is, but this is how it's gonna happen. Flak cannon does not get frozen. Toxin drop possibly coming in on top of the Peacekeepers. Flak cannon does get frozen just in time, and the Peacekeepers closing the distance. The Toxins a little bit too late to the party as the blast from the Bullfrog, or from the Peacekeeper, almost enough to kill that Bullfrog. 3 cryocopters in the sky, but one gets denied, and the Peacekeepers forced into the Toxins or into the mouths of the Bears. Either one is good for the Soviet player as the Roar comes in to lock down that Peacekeeper, and the cryocopters get pushed away. The refinery gets eliminated, and just in time, that Peacekeeper managed to get out his riot shield. Conscripts are now here, and the Bears deal with one PK while the Conscript deals with the other. Cryocopters circling around. They get the freeze on the Bear. The Bullfrogs out of range there. One refinery down, one still to be dealt with. And of course, on the high ground, this refinery has been on and offline intermittently for opShijiao. He is still on 2 refinery economy. Only one oil derrick has been captured this game, and it's by SovietBall. So he's got that extra bit of income to help out his double refinery back at home. No crusher crane, no super reactor, so it's no Tesla coil, no extra production queue for the Soviet player. Just Bullfrogs, just sentry guns, and just the chaos of the base push. 4 cryocopters out, but one gets immediately obliterated by these Bullfrogs. They may be shrunken down, but they're still powerful, and sentry gun gets frozen, stopped from attacking, and it gets sold off there as another cryocopter gets blasted out of the sky, but the refinery gets eliminated, and the GG comes out. SovietBall gets the win in game number 7. No bans, no problem for the Soviet player as he kills opShijiao with a turret push. Not what I was expecting to see as game number 7 of this final series. But that is an absolutely crazy series to have. Nearly peak entertainment in these games, with the ban mode delivering wacky and goofy game after game after game. That will do it for this series. A huge thanks to the players for participating. Big thanks to Toolman for putting on the event and sending over the replays. Big thanks to XYHC for creating this and making me aware of these games. Ban mode has been highly entertaining yet again here in this video. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Sybert signing out.